Now, welcome back. And as Billy just intimated there, we're talking about that great politician, great Christian, great statesman, John Hume, the late John Hume, whom I think the whole nation, north and south and abroad, were very saddened at his passing. A wonderful, wonderful, selfless man that gave all his ability and time and private time to engage and to help peace be created in this very troubled land, as we knew from the 60s and even before it as well. But Billy, I'm just going back to part one because that's intriguing. Your father was the influence in many ways of bringing the Kennedys into the whole peace process,
right.
creating it and helping it.
Well, it was Pope Pius XII that founded the Peace, Reconciliation and Prosperity process.
Yes.
And that's what's crucial.
Yes.
And that was in 1950 when he brought my father and mother to Rome. And Pope Pius wanted to make amends for 1155.
Yes.
That's the conflict between Ireland and Britain.
Yes.
Is 1155 when Pope Adrian IV illegally and fraudulently gave Ireland for the profit of England and Rome. I mean, that was a disgrace.
That was in 1155.
A bull
Yes.
laudabiliter. And if that ever existed, it's a fraudulent document, and that's the point. But what I'm saying to you is that he wanted it, the Pope Pius XII wanted it through a university, and that all this information,
Yes.
all the conflict would be sorted out.
Yes.
Well, you could only do that through a university in that time. And all that information of why he did Pope Adrian IV give era to Henry II, all that information is in Loughor, and it was the old Celtic church and
Yes.
Christianity. They had all that information. And those clergy in those days, in 1950, it was very, all over the world, they didn't want that information to be lost.
Yes.
And they had power in Rome. And I told you that Dr. Cooper, he was the one. He was, and Father Reardon of the Irish College and that.
Yes.
And there was a lot of great clergymen who didn't want that. And they wanted that information to be kept. And they wanted it's all in Loughor.
Yes.
And you can do it. And that's why it's so important. Now, John Hume came in. John Hume did not do the peace, reconciliation and prosperity process.
Yes.
That was in the university. And I told you, we gave Willowbank for that. And it was gutted. Willowbank is gone completely, and all the Vaughan's Hotel papers with all that information.
Gone.
And they won't tell you where it is. And it was Tom O'Donnell did that. And Brendan O'Regan ran the peace, reconciliation and prosperity down there. And that meant going to America, bringing factories to Shannon, bringing factories to every little town.
Yes.
Peace, reconciliation and prosperity. And that was, people didn't have jobs. People had nothing on
They had nothing. No.
And they had nothing. You were the man. We're the wealthiest country in the world. We have all that territory right to America. You know, and that was, and I'm going to call that information that he wanted. In fact, I'll call it to you now, I suppose, before
Yes.
you read the
Okay.
proclamation.
Very good.
And what John Hume wanted, he did the Good Friday Agreement. The Good Friday Agreement is not a peace, reconciliation and prosperity.
Right.
It is taking the Crown forces out of Ireland to fight in another part of the world. And that's what he achieved. What a wonderful achievement.
Yes.
I say it's the first part of the peace, reconciliation.
I see.
And I want the University of Limerick they got Willowbank, they gutted it, the site is there, and that's where the peace should be for the whole world, and it should be in the name of John Hume and my late father and all
Yes.
those who gave their lives, Dr. Cooper, Brendan O'Regan,
Yes.
you know, his father, all those great people, and a lot of Limerick families. The site is there, derelict, nothing on it, and why can't they build what they got the site for? And if they don't, if the university doesn't do it, they should give back the site. And I'm sure that John Hume's widow and his family and all those people would put that together. I mean, I met unionists and all sorts of people down there with Brendan O'Regan, and I was invited to Stormont, and I was invited to sit in one of their committee sessions.
Yes.
And I did.
Yes.
And I mean, for me, Don, that was my first time over the board, and we come from Fermanagh. That's where we come from.
Right.
But it's so important, and this is what John Hume. If you look at what he did, he wasn't what we did. What I have done many times for you is our independence and how we got it. The 1918 Vaughan's Hotel,
Yes.
the 1918 32 county election. And this is what John Hume, and I sent him this information. And it was the 14th of December. I'll read it out because I want to have it correct. On the 14th of December, Britain called the 1918 32 county election. And in 1918, and we won. In that was an all-Ireland election,
32
counties. That was crucial.
Yes.
On the 28th of December 1918, we won a total of 73 seats out of 105 seats, and that's what's crucial in that. That's the mandate we were given.
Yes.
And it was IRB Sinn Féin who won that.
Yes.
And look, there's if you want to see that.
No, I see it. Yep.
That's the letter I sent to Mary Lou MacDonald.
I see.
And you can see it there. Anyone who wants to read it, go to billymaguire.com. But that's the information that John Hume wanted, and he predicated the Good Friday Agreement on the same idea. But of course, it was on. If you remember the referendum, it was a 26 and 6 county referendum.
It was, yes.
It wasn't a 32, and it was for and the Good Friday Agreement wasn't a peace process. It was, I say, the first start of the Crown forces moving out
Yes.
of Ireland and allowing the people to become sovereign again. And our people are sovereign, all 32 counties, and we have the largest territory. And I think, and I'm asking that the university and all the great people and all these great countries who support peace and reconciliation would build a proper institution down in Plassey, where it all came from.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
And
yes.
you know that the site is there. They were given the site, or they didn't do anything about the site. That's where the Supreme Council of the Irish Republican Brotherhood used to meet, and all those unions from Northern Ireland used to come down there. Yeah, you know, Brendan O'Regan brought all those people down. Fantastic. But it is a shame to think that it's going to be left now, half done.
Maybe not. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Maybe not, Billy. Maybe this might. What? You know, maybe John Hume's passing. Maybe people discussing the legacies, our ancestors. Your information, your interviews there are so important to people. You know, it's starting, enabling a conversation to take place, and that's always step one. Like what they did in the peace process in Northern Good Friday Agreement. Nothing would have been achieved only by talking.
Nothing. And if my father, he was brought to Rome in 1950, right?
Yeah.
To start the peace reconciliation process.
Yes.
And he asked that the university, and then it wasn't a university, as you know, it was only a higher education.
A higher education.
And I must congratulate Ed Walsh. He was brilliant.
Oh, he was a marvellous man. Yes.
And he put the whole thing together. But then now that they have all this together, they seem to be, they're not going anyplace. And the professors there, I told you, I brought the head of the history out, Lochgore.
Yes.
I asked those mathematicians to do the mathematics in you know, on the 21st of June and on the 21st of December.
Yes.
When the sun, that's we just did the lines here.
Yes.
That's it here.
Yes.
And that's the meridian. That's going through the pyramids of Egypt.
Yeah.
All the information is left in, all the angles, all the mathematics, how to build the pyramids of Egypt and the temples. They didn't call them churches in those days, they called them churches. But the Romans then changed all that to Roman churches and that.
Yes.
But the origin of that, I told you, there's a font there, and that was for what we call today baptizing children.
Yes.
But in those days it was Homo sapiens, and your intellect and reason and your five senses. Yes. And you were in the image of God. That's how you're created, Homo sapiens, and that comes from God. And nobody understands God, but you can understand those two 5-string harps that are on the Ark of the Covenant, and they were replaced by Rome to control the people and to control by angels, and that's where that comes from. And there's your harp, and I showed you all the. You could keep turning that and doing all the building your boat and building your ship and building the pyramids of Egypt. Look at the courses on this house of the stone. Each of those lines of the course, you put up your line, and your plumb line. You know, hieroglyphics. Look, everything is on it. Everything on it. You go to that door, and the harpstone is there. You put that on the harpstone. and you could do all the. There's Jerry O'Donovan, and Jerry is doing that now, and he's doing the mathematics and all that out there, and they'll be up on the website hopefully very
Fantastic.
soon.
That's marvellous.
Is up, but that is what the peace process is, dealing with the conflict of what happened to Ireland, and it happened in 1155.
Start from there.
That's the start, and that's Britain. There, you see Northern Ireland. You probably saw it the other night.
Yes.
They claimed the right to go into Northern Ireland and to come in here on that bull out of Billitor in 1155.
And it may not even exist. If it does, it's a fraud.
It's fraud.
Yes.
And who gave it? The only English Pope, illegally and fraudulently, for the benefit of Britain and the benefit of Rome. I mean, that's a disgrace. And why can't we be told all this, you know?
I think there's watered down versions in every direction.
Well,
north, south, east and west. But however, but I certainly today have learned another chapter about 1155, which I didn't know of. The majority of people out there, non-historians, wouldn't have a clue. So now it's amazing how it all started.
That's the conflict. That's
where the conflict started.
This is what I'm trying to separate. The peace was 1950.
Yes.
And separate the peace, reconciliation, and prosperity. We know where the prosperity to build those. Brendan O'Regan went off to America. He talked to all those Irish Americans all over the world. They came over here and they built up factories. They gave employment. You're down in Askeaton, you know, all those places. That was the prosperity part of it. But the peace, that's what it's called. But the Good Friday Agreement has not to do with that.
Yes.
And John couldn't get that. John Hume.
Yes.
But he got the Crown forces out of Ireland.
Which was an incredible step.
That was the huge part. That was the most difficult part to get those, because they claimed they had a right to come in from 1155. The Bull out of Billitor gave them a right to come in to use Ireland for the profit. And I showed you that document before. I read it out to you.
Yes.
The 6th of December 1921. Articles of Agreement are signed on the 6th. That's the Free State.
Yes.
And Realtas the Hearn that you see up in your on your television every night, that's the Free State. They've just taken out the Free. That's 26 and 6, and that's all John had to do.
32 county.
He had 26 and 6.
Yeah.
But he got a referendum 26 and 6. He what? And I read out you what he wanted. The same as the 1918 32, which was the 32 county referendum.
Yes.
And claimed all our territory right to America. Right over to down the channel, and Boris Johnson recognised that.
Yes.
And coming up now with this Brexit and all that, we are not giving any part of our territory away to anybody. You know, that's belonged to the sovereign people here.
Yes.
And Ireland the people became sovereign. And you read the proclamation, which you're going to read. Everything's about sovereignty. And when you come down to the end of it, you see we only had provisional government. We surrendered room for Mrs. Vaughan for the Irish and Fenian Republic, Tomanamon, the Fenian, and all those. But when they announced the election on the 14th of December, we bought Vaughan's Hotel for that, and we donated. The Maguires had put up a fund ever since Connacht Maguire was poisoned. They couldn't conquer Ireland without the Shannon, and that was the Pale from the east coast right across to the Shannon, and that was Connacht Maguire's territory. That's why we're in Limerick. And if you saw there what Britain did, they claimed that, oh no, the Shannon didn't come from Fermanagh. It came further down. But they have now proved that it did come from Fermanagh, and it was Connacht Maguire's territory. But Britain did all that to get the territory, to feed their crown forces, to impose their will. That's what it was about, you know.
Incredible. I'm flabbergasted. but there's history for you. Indeed, I know. Well, to conclude, Billy has asked me to read the proclamation of the Irish Republic in memory of a great man, John Hume. But we also have to pay tribute to Billy Maguire's father, any of the other... Dr. Cooper, also
Brendan
O'Regan, the Kennedys,
all of those Fitzgerald Kennedy. There was a lot of people who lived, the Mackins, Russells, all those people.
Correct.
The Hearns, all those people who stood behind.